I'd like to talk about some of the trends we see out there in the industry and how they're affecting us now and how we see them evolving into the future and how we think they'll affect practices in the future. First, we see an accelerated size of project, just both in dollar terms and in complexity and in the amount of different things coming together into one. So we see an increased demand for higher limits. So we're really proud that we actually listen to our clients and we're able to create something called spike up coverage. And spike up coverage is what we offer when a specific client for either a single project or a group of projects needs a liability limit more than the architect normally carries. And so what we're able to do is actually spike up the limit for that set of projects. For us, this is a really great tool for architects to keep in their toolkit to help mitigate risk and to help deal with client needs in a reasonable manner, in a manner that's manageable and cost contained. We see incredible acceleration on the use of technology and what that means both in terms of how you design a project, whether it's through integrated process delivery or whether it's just through communicating through emails and increased number of documents. It just drives incredible complexity. We see resiliency, that word that gets used so often out there. And resiliency really is a kind of a super title for all sorts of other topics underneath it, whether it's sustainability or durability or talking about climate or talking about energy output. But just that expectation that you're building, that you're designing isn't just good for today, but is going to be good for the future and has an expectation of output for the future. Scope of practice is one of the areas where we just see both an expansion and a blurring of lines, right? As people work more collaboratively on teams together, as people work on more complex projects and more complex designs, the clarity of who does what and who's responsible for what, all of these things really lead up to the same thing as we just see a far more litigious type of environment. Increased dollar size clearly creates, if it's a $10 problem, it's pretty easy for you to figure out. If it's a $10,000 problem, you can probably figure it out. If it's a $10 million problem, you're involving lawyers. One of the things we've really become aware of in the last couple of years, and the pandemic has brought it home, is that the competition for projects is actually driving risky behavior out there, both among architects and amongst clients who are hiring architects. And so we see this in everything from some of the demands in contracts where architects are being asked to be responsible for everything, take liability for everything, and indemnify everybody for everything. We're also seeing, the fees that architects charge being driven down by other architects. Architects are doing it to themselves. And that worries us for a couple of reasons. One, we hate to see architects devalue their worth. The value of a good architect is pretty astronomical, and it's I don't think healthy for the profession to be driving down that value. What it means for us is that we know you're going to have resource problems as you work through that project because you've underpriced it to begin with, and so there's going to be all sorts of temptations and all sorts of dilemmas where what you have to do as a professional doesn't match what you charged for a fee. And that worries us, and we think that's actually something the profession needs to deal with as we move forward. All of this kind of leads me to so what? And now that I've made you worried about everything, how can we help? How can Pro-Demnity help? And what's our role in that? We really see ourselves as the authority on risk. And what that means for us is that our job is to help you understand risk, to manage risk, to mitigate risk. Our job isn't necessarily to tell you when you should and shouldn't take risk, but our job is to make sure that you do so intelligently and wisely, so that you know when it's insured, and when it's insured, we're going to be there to protect and defend you, so that you know when it's not insured, so that you're not going into something with false expectations, and you're actually making meaningful management decisions, and that you're actually able to go into projects knowingly and willingly accepting the risk that you want to take and that you are comfortable with. We all report to somebody, and I think we need to be able to go to them and say, you know what? We understand our risks, we've made intelligent decisions, we've priced them accordingly, we've got Pro-Demnity on our side for those things that we have insured, these are the things that aren't insured, and we understand how they're covered, and we're comfortable with that.